So now I've told you a fair amount about what you can expect to see in the Pantanal, as in the wildlife on offer. We've spoken about everything from otters to jaguars, the beautiful birds that you get to see. But something a lot of people forget about, but do need to think about is, what is Brazil like as a country to travel through? What's the accommodation like? Where do you stay? What do you eat, etc.? And this is an important question to ask, guys. And I want to tell you a little bit more about that. I found Brazil to be refreshing. I think I traveled through Africa extensively, and it's a very well-developed safari industry, and that's true, right? So it's been going. I think one of the first camps that I know about would be in Sefu. There was a photographic camp in the early 50s. That's in South Luangwa. Mala Mala has its origins in the early 60s, and so they've developed quite a bit. And it's very easy to visit Africa and compare Africa to everything else that you've seen around you. What's important is to consider where Brazil's at as a destination for tourists and tours and expeditions and safaris. Now, I found, as I said, it very refreshing. I really enjoyed the camps we stayed at. I think authenticity is something that's easily lost nowadays, where perhaps camps and places you end up staying at become too glamorous. They take it a step maybe too far. There's a place for that, but I think it's important to hold on to what makes it real and what people are looking for. You want to experience the country, the people, the culture, and that's something that Brazil oozes of. There's a lot of that in this, just for example, the tour that we host at Wild Eye. So visiting the place, there's two distinctive regions of the Pantanal that are really worth visiting. That's the southern and northern Pantanal. Now the south is where the main part of the anteater safari experience comes from. You travel and you stay at lovely camps. We stay on a ranch, and this is the best part about it. So what the ranches and pantaneiros, as they're known, have realized is that there's a lot of value in tourism and wildlife for them. So what they've done is you'll still get an active working ranch, but in the same space you have almost like a guest house effect, quite small boutique, 6-8 rooms at best, but it caters for the needs of the tourists who visit there. And the reason why they're able to do that is because on the ranches themselves, you have a lot of wildlife. So the places we stayed at, the first ranch on our itinerary, and a place I really enjoyed, was exactly that. There was a working ranch, there were cattle, there were sheep and horses and all sorts of stuff. Very cool, like within the actual guest house or posada. And it's really nice waking up like that. You wake up in the morning to the horses going out into the grasslands, to the pastures to feed. And it feels like you're waking up on a ranch. And that's exactly what it is, a Brazilian Pantanal ranch. And it's so authentic and I love it. But to see the wildlife there is just as good. So you'll leave the camp and go looking for anteaters and they'll be right there. They'll be walking on the road, crossing the road between the fences, the farm fences. And it might seem like, but I want a wildlife experience. But the beautiful thing about this, it is wild and it is wildlife. They've seen the value of the wildlife on their properties, and they now welcome tourists to come and see it for themselves. And the fact that they've safeguarded and kept these animals all this time is a beautiful story, I think. So that's the one place we stayed. Then another great location is in Bonito. Now Bonito, beautiful. It's a lovely city, guys. Like incredible food, great people, culture, colors. But the thing I love most is you go and visit a site called Buraco das Araras, and that's a macaw sinkhole. It's literally a sinkhole, quite a massive one, and that's where birds, macaws, red and green macaws, fly back and forth. They nest along the banks. And we visit that area as well because it's got great value. It's fantastic photography, incredible kind of shots that you can get there, very unique. And what happens is, especially early mornings and late afternoons, because the sun is low to the horizon, you'll get the macaws flying across. Most of the sinkhole will be in deep dark shade, except for the birds that are lit by the sun. And that creates this dark blanket in the back, almost studio-like. And so I love photographing that. The food is fantastic, the people are friendly. And so it just creates a great, authentic, almost old school way of travel, visiting these different places. From there, we go to the northern Pantanal. Now, the north is where the jaguars are. That's where the action happens. That's what we want to see. Now, for our guests, where do we stay? We stay in Cuiabá, which is the main city in that area. It's actually divided into two, but we stay in one portion of it. And from there, it's just a one-night stay in a lovely hotel. From there, straight on the road, and we visit 3 places. Now, there's a lot of accommodation options, and I rely on my local expert, Ricardo Casaren, to help me with this, and we've put together a great itinerary. But there we stay at a place, the first place is Pure Vol Lodge, and it's right at the beginning of the Trans-Pantanal Road. Now, let me explain. To get to where the Jaguars are, they're in an area called Porto Joffre, okay? Now, to get there, it's a fair bit of driving. I'm not going to kid you. So from Cuiabá to Pure Vol is about a 2 to 3 hour drive. Maybe call it 2.5 hours to get to Pure Vol. Then from Pure Vol is at the northern end of a 145 kilometer stretch of road, gravel road. Now, this road is... it's built in such a way, it's quite a high road, a high-rise road, because it runs right through the Pantanal, through the wetlands. And you'll see as you drive from Cuiabá to the Trans-Pantanal Road, the beginning of it, how it changes from dry, deciduous, almost rocky terrain, and then eventually, as you get a little bit lower, you descend into the Pantanal and into the wetland. Now, to do that whole stretch of road, it's about a 4 to 6 hour drive, just depending what you see, to do the entire 140 kilometer stretch. There's 122, 125 wooden bridges that you cross. Now, they're in the process of building them into concrete to be more sustainable and not to break so often, because the conditions of these bridges, that gives new meaning to the word authentic. So when you drive across these bridges, you'll see on the videos, it's quite entertaining, but they are safe. Instead of crossing that whole entire road in one day, we stay at Pure Vol Lodge, right at the top end of the road, the access into the Pantanal and to Porto Joffre. So, the nice thing about this is you get a very nice lodge, fantastic accommodation, again, great food, and a great area from which to explore this northern section of the road. And Cayman, there's a lovely Cayman experience. If the water level's not too full, Cayman accommodate on the beach. They're quite accepting of people on foot, and you get to see them very close. It's also a good place to see the golden and blue or yellow and blue macaw. And there's also a nice experience that we had, which is photographing Pantanera cowboys on horseback, moving the horses back and across. Typically every morning they'll take a big herd or group of horses across into the open fields, fetch them again in the afternoons, and we get to photograph this event take place. We also get to shoot some scenes of the cowboys running through the water, which is brilliant. And then on top of that, you get just a great experience at the camp itself. Then we head on to Porto Joffre, straight through the entire stretch of the road. That is where the Jaguars are. That's the home of Jaguars. So there we spend a while, and it's a great camp again. Lovely food, great staff, just all in all, a fantastic place to stay at. I felt it was very welcoming. The staff were fantastic, as I mentioned. Knowing you by name by the second day, remembering what drink you had, how cold you loved your beer, which is obviously should be super cold. There's a few options to stay at in Porto Joffre, but this is, for me, one of the better options, or probably the best. And that's the home base from which you explore the rivers looking for jaguars. And then there's one other place where we stay at. It's the Mato Grosso Hotel. I loved that hotel because, again, a very consistent food experience and accommodation option, basic but good. But you get to explore another river, and that's where we do a bit of birding. You're looking for the great poto, looking for things like the agami heron, perhaps some primate species, a couple of the hawk species. And so that's a nice river to end it off with. Take it easy after the jaguars, explore the camp, enjoy the river, and just wind down before heading back to Cuiabá and off back to your destinations, your home bases. Yeah, that's it in a nutshell. The places we explored and stay at. Fantastic places, really homely, really welcome, and authentic in every way. Great food, great staff, good enough accommodation, air conditioning, especially in the summer when it gets quite hot. So everything you need to be taken care of, you'll find in the Pantanal and in that region where we do safaris. Thanks, guys, and enjoy the rest of what's coming up this week.